Hi. The internet connection hasn't been great at my parents' place. So if it's really fuzzy or breaking in and out, I apologize. I just find it really much easier to just record live. I guess I could just record on my computer and then post it afterwards, but I always love the opportunity to have a conversation with anybody who wants to join live. It's a little chilly. It's raining outside, which is so nice. And everybody's gone to bed. I've been staying up till like 2 or 3 a.m. most nights. My sister and I took a 2-hour nap at like 7:30 p.m. And so I have no idea how much that's going to mess with my sleep schedule. But it kind of doesn't matter to me. And that's part of what I want to talk about here is one thing I'm really drawn to is just doing what I really want to do. And I think that's something that a lot of us are drawn to, but either some people don't feel like they can live the way that they want to, or they don't know how to live the way they want to, or they don't even know really what they want. And I think it just becomes so confusing. And that's part of the reason that people feel unhappy is because they're not fully fulfilled. And I've started thinking about this tonight because I've been thinking a lot about why I'm feeling hesitant to go back to Los Angeles. It's not like a deep hesitancy, but I just don't feel ready to go back yet. I don't go back for like a week, but given that the last 3 weeks went by so fast, I just can't stop thinking about how fast this next week is going to go. And that just feels really uncomfortable to me. So I don't know if it's that I just don't want to leave Massachusetts or the East Coast, or that I wish I had more time here and I could do more things. I've talked about this in other videos, how I thought like a month out here would have been plenty of time. And I really now wish that I had just bought a one-way ticket out of here and then just left whenever I felt like it. And I just keep reflecting on it. Every day I've been thinking about that. And tonight I was just thinking about what is it that I really enjoy about being here? Compared to LA. First of all, I mean, it's just like the air quality and the scenery. It's so quiet. It feels like fall, like the leaves are turning, there's all of those like environmental elements. And I'm just really curious and also kind of nervous about going back to LA because what if I feel so hypersensitive to it that it feels unpleasant? I mean, I trust that I would adapt back to it because I've been living in LA for so long. But I don't know, part of me just like is really questioning it. And so it'll be interesting to see just how I feel when I get there. But this has also gotten me thinking just about my life in general. And one thing I was thinking a lot about that I want to talk about today is I feel like we just get in this comparison trap, this comparison mentality so frequently. And it actually really feels uncomfortable to me how much of my life I feel like I make decisions or lean towards certain decisions based on what people are going to think of me. Like even right now, I can see how many people are watching live, and every time the number goes up or down, I start to wonder, does that have anything to do with how much people like me in the video? And then with my numbers have been online like relatively low compared to how they've been in the past. And it's so easy for me to beat myself up over like how many people watch my videos, how many people like my posts, on and on and on, how many people are following or unfollowing, all that stuff. And it's like coming up on my 10-year anniversary of Ego Vegan Gal. 10 years is a long time. And I just started to think, like, I bet you there's just so much going on in my unconscious about 10 years of being really concerned with what people think of me. And then, like, actually, one of my boyfriends in the past brought this up to me, and I was like, so I got, like, kind of offended and defensive about it. It was back when I was living in San Francisco, and probably in 2011 or 12. And I remember him saying to me, like, everything you're doing with Eco Vegan Gal is just to feed your own ego and blah, blah, blah. And I couldn't really hear what he was saying because I felt really defensive. My communication skills were not as strong as they are now. So a lot of our relationship was challenging for me because I always felt on the defense. And I also, that's a whole nother thing to dig into my reaction to what was going on there. But sometimes I think about that and I think, like, how much of this is my ego? And I think about how much has changed over the years. On YouTube now, there are people there's just so many YouTubers now. And when I started 10 years ago, YouTube was barely being used. And so it's just such a different world in the past, like, 2 or 3 years. Like, the quote unquote competition has become so much stronger. There's so many more people to watch. And it's like this desire to, like, keep innovating and, like, stay up with the trends and all of that. But I also just have this strong desire to, like, just really be myself. And the fear is, will I be liked? Will people approve of me for being myself? And I felt so insecure about this for the past few years. And I feel like that's just such a common thing, and I think this is something a lot of people go through online, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, YouTube, all these platforms, whether you're creating content professionally like I do or personally. It's just this ongoing thing: is somebody going to like what I put out there? Is somebody going to like the way that I look? Is somebody going to like the way that I talk? Are they going to approve of what I post? What happens if someone disagrees with me? What happens if people criticize me? And we see this happening so much in the media too, and especially, like, on YouTube, how easily people tear each other apart. And I talked about that, I think, in the last video on this channel. It's just like how much that hurts my heart to watch people judge and criticize each other so much. It makes it really scary for someone like me, I've been watching the series about Jake Paul that Shane Dawson has been creating, and he's brought up this idea of a sociopath. It's created all this controversy, and part of the definition of a sociopath is somebody that just doesn't care. They're not affected by what other people think of them. And there's part of me that kind of envies that. Like, what is that like? I feel like I'm the complete opposite, where I'm, like, very, like, much of an empath. And so I also, growing up with, I think, with the way my mother was with me, just like this strong desire to seek approval. And so sometimes I wonder, did I really get into my work with Eco Vegan Gal because I got so much approval for so long? And I still get approval. It just, like, it feels like it's not the same as it used to be. And it doesn't feel like nearly as much. And so there's almost like this ongoing desire, or not desire, but, like, ongoing feeling that I need to push myself and work harder and figure out, like, how do I get people to care again? How do I get the YouTube videos up for the main channel? And how do I, this and that, and all these thoughts. And then if I step back and really examine it, I have to ask myself, why does that even matter? Honestly, a huge reason that it matters is because it's tied into finances. So being a content creator or an influencer, as some people call it, our paychecks are directly related to how many people are in our audience, and that's a really stressful thing, and I think it actually leads a lot of people to do dishonest things. I'm not willing to do that. I Yeah, I can't relate with that desire to just, like, artificially inflate my numbers just so I can get paid, like, it's just so temporary, and this is not clearly with me doing for this for 10 years and not wanting to stop, this is not a temporary career for me. This is not like a get rich quick thing. This is not on a conscious level, I don't do this for vanity. I don't do this for validation. I think there's motivational factors of it within me, and, like, it does feel good when someone gives you a thumbs up or they write you a letter and they tell you that you've helped change their life, or all those different benefits of it are so wonderful. I don't think that's really the full driving force. I think I really enjoy connecting with people. That's why I do live videos, and my live videos do not perform very well at all, and I've done them anyways because I really enjoy doing live. The comment section has not been active in this video yet, but I love reading your comments and getting to know you and seeing your names and hearing your questions and getting private messages and all that stuff. I really I think live videos are such an amazing tool. And Mohammed just commented, "Hi, thanks for being here." So it's just really interesting. Like when I started 10 years ago, the word influencer didn't exist. And now in the past 4 or 5 years, that's like a common thing. That's a career path, and you see all of these young people becoming influencers and they grow their channels really fast. And it just becomes, from the outside, in my perspective, very vain. You have a lot of girls. This is like, there's two cliches that I can say off the top of my head. There's the girl who is on Instagram and or YouTube, and everything that she does is all about to show how great her life is, how beautiful she is, how in shape she is or skinny, what she eats, what she does, how great her friends are, how nice her clothes are, how good she does her makeup. It's very much like super superficial. And I get very triggered by that because when I see things like that, I start to think, maybe people like her because she's younger than me, or maybe people like her because she's prettier than me, and maybe people like her because she does her make, like all of these things. And I personally get into that comparison trap of thinking, well, I can't change my age, but maybe if I did my hair and makeup a certain way, or maybe if I made videos and edited them a certain way, and maybe if I did all of these different things, and then I step back and think, I don't want to do that though. The only thing I want is the approval, but the approval is not worth me doing something that doesn't resonate with me. So I stick to what I really resonate with. And man, is that tough. It's tough to be really authentic. It's tough to really stay with what you love when you see other people doing things differently than you that are seemingly working, and they're getting all the fame and they're getting the fortune, and brands are drawn to them, and it's so tough. I've gone through phases where I've worked with brands a lot, and I'm in the phase right now where in terms of sponsors, financial sponsors, it's like brands are not as interested because the numbers aren't as high as other people. And so it's like, okay, so I am not making them, I'm getting passed down on opportunities because I'm not getting the views that people are getting. And then if you try to dissect it, you're like, maybe they're getting those views because they are doing all of those superficial things that I talked about, right? And so it's just like this kind of like sadness of like, wow, I feel like I'm being kind of pressured in a way to act and do things that I don't really align with. And then my strong will, it comes down to my strong will. And I want to share this so that anybody else who's struggling with this, I don't think it's worth it to try to be somebody that you're not and do things that you're not. And also, like, it's kind of boring in a way to just try to copy yourself and model yourself and mold yourself off of somebody just because they're successful and they're getting validated. All of those, that's just such a temporary ego thing, you know? And it just leads you in an endless circle. And then I think there's like an emptiness to it all, I would say it's like kind of similar to watching the Kardashians. Like I will watch actually watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians a bit tonight with my sister, just like that's what we felt like watching. But I'm watching the show and I'm so bored by it. And they're beautiful women and I'm in awe of everything that they've created with their empires. But it's like their show is just empty. It's just them complaining about the silliest things and like just looking for entertainment value. And you see that so much. So I mentioned the like cliche female influencer, which is just a girl who's like all about her hair, her body, her clothes, her friends, and her experiences. And so it's just like always like ego, ego, ego. Look at me. Look at how great my life is. Look how pretty I am. Look how perfect. And then there's like this trend right now where girls are showing like imperfections, but then even that feels kind of calculated and fake. And at first I really resonated with that. Like if you're on Instagram, you'll see those side by sides of like, it'll be like Instagram versus reality. And it's like a girl looking perfectly thin and then a girl like staying on her stomach to look like, oh, I have a belly too. But then you see these girls like trying to fake their imperfections. It's just like, oh my God. And that to me, it's like, it's so manipulative and it's so sad because I don't think I'm alone. And I'd love to hear from some of you. I don't think I'm alone in that reaction of feeling like when you see somebody that they're just showing their highlight reels and they're like going all out with their highlights, right? And I've done this too. Like I am guilty of this. I haven't done it. I try not to do it very much. That's part of one of the reasons I love this channel so much is it's just so real, raw. But it's still a highlight reel in the sense that you're seeing, 30 minutes of my day and me sharing some thoughts. Like this isn't fully me, like just by seeing who I am in these videos. It's still like the highlight of my thoughts or something, right? And so we all kind of do it as content creators in our own ways. It's just that I feel like this ongoing like tension in myself. And I think a lot of people do. I think like when you go on anything, like any type of entertainment that you're looking at, it's like if it's a magazine or it's a TV show or a movie or social media, YouTube, most of the entertainment we look at, we're just watching people in their highlight reels, or we're watching them when they look perfect, we're watching their fake lives. And I think over time, it just really starts to wear down at us. And, studying film production and media and psychology that's what I got my degree in. It's like common knowledge that's all purposeful, because if you wear somebody down where their self-worth is so low, because all they see is other people doing things that they wish they could do or being a person that they wish they could be, then that makes them constantly striving to get that. So they want to buy the same clothing, they want to buy the same car, they want to go on the same trips, they want to find the same friends. It's like we as humans are drawn to mimicking each other, being alike. I mean, that's just a core human thing, is that we are psychologically wired to want to be like each other and create communities. And it's just so manipulative, and it just starts to feel so sad to me. But again, I think part of the sadness is that there's that pressure that I feel as a content creator, as someone in that influencer world. There's just that feeling of like you're either going to be a certain way and you're going to get people to pay attention to you and you're going to get all these opportunities, But if you don't do things that certain way, then you probably won't get all those opportunities, and you won't get paid as well, and you won't get recognized, and all of those things. And you become conditioned as a content creator, as an influencer, to want all of those things, right? But I think what a lot of people aren't thinking about is like really dissecting it, really stepping back and having awareness about why they want it in the first place. I have such a big passion for money. Sometimes something that I think about all the time is how I really want to put more of my focus on my career into helping people with money. Like, I didn't even study that, but I just want to devote so much more of my life to finances, because it breaks my heart to see so many people struggling with money all the time. I mean, it's just like it's an epidemic for all sorts of people that, it's just like so many people, most people I would say, are struggling with money in one way or another. And it really resonates with me because, I struggle with money too in my own ways, whether it's just the mentality of money. It doesn't mean how much I have in the bank. It's how my comfort level, right, with money. And that's something that I work really hard to overcome with myself, but I want to help everybody, including you watching, and in all these different ways that people like struggle with money. And so I wouldn't be surprised if more of my career goes in that direction, because the vegan side of it, I've been doing it for 10 years and I feel like I've said a lot, I've done a lot. I'm not necessarily certain that I'm going to wrap up the eco-vegan gal side of things. I just don't know what the transition point is going to be. But going back to what I was starting to say is that because I know so many content creators, influencers, it just feels like so many people are just like trying all the time. Everything's like calculated. Everything's about like, how do I get the views, and how do I get the likes, and how do I get the followers, and how do I get people to buy things, and all these comparison things, numbers. And I think maybe that's part of my resistance to go back to Los Angeles, is because out here on the East Coast, I barely spent time with anybody that's in that world. I did for the first week I was out here because I traveled with Jason, and I went down to the Natural Products Expo and saw influencer. I actually went to an influencer summit there, and so I was around that a bit. But when I'm just here at my parents' house and just like chilling out, listening to the rain, or sitting in the hammock on a warm day, like that just feels so much better to me than going to an influencer party where everybody's just like looking to get something out of it, And I think that just starts to feel so draining. And it's tough too, because like I said, I have so many friends in this field, like friends, like true friends. And then I have a lot of acquaintances. And I've really had to like work hard to figure out the difference between an acquaintance and a friend. Because a lot of people want to call you their friend, and they're not really. Even on Facebook, like I've been for the past few months, like slowly unfriending people that I don't talk to, because I'm like, I don't even want to call somebody a friend on Facebook if they're not actually a friend of mine, And like I unfollowed a ton of people on Instagram, and then like one of my social media friends messaged me and asked, like, did I unfollow her because was it personal? And it was like this whole political thing of like, great, now I unfollow people and they don't think I like them anymore. It's like all of a sudden friendships become so political, and friendships become so delicate about whether or not you follow them online. It's like, if we're not talking on a regular basis, or seeing each other, or at least connecting in some deep ways a few times a year, how is that really friendship? I do have friends that are not in the influencer world that I only see a couple times a year. And it's different with them, because when I do see them, it's like this weekend, I'm supposed to go to Maine to see one of my longest term friends, and I see her maybe every other year. It's not very frequent, but there's like a deep bond that we've created over our entire lives, versus the people that I meet through the influencer space or online space. you know each other for a few years and you have mutual friends and like you do similar stuff and you hang out a few times at parties and suddenly you might be calling each other friends, but I'm looking for really deep friendships, and Jason is a great example of one. I mean, Jason is one of the best friends I've ever had in my life. And, we've been friends for 6 years. We've dated, we've gone through a lot together and it's incredible. So when you have those type of friendships, it's just like so different than when you have the acquaintance type relationships with people. And again, I think that's just something I associate with LA. And it's very cliche LA, like there's so much socializing that happens there, but a lot of it's just so surface level. And more I find myself just not wanting to go to things. Like I'm introverted and yet I enjoy socializing, but I want a deep socialization. I want to like really connect with people. I don't want to just hang out with somebody. I hate small talk. Like that's one of my biggest pet peeves, if not the top pet peeve of I have right now is small talk. Cause I don't want to just talk to people about like superficial things and smile at them a certain way. Just to, it's like, it feels it doesn't feel good. And it all ties into what I was saying at the beginning, how creating content just to get people's approval online, it just like, it really doesn't feel right to me. And I just have to navigate this, like moving forward as a content creator. It's really tricky because it's a lot of time doing a live video like this. I can sit down for 30, 40 minutes and just talk to you live. I don't edit it. I barely do anything. It's not a big time investment. And I love this. I love sitting here. I love being live. And so for anyone watching live, feel free to comment. I want you to comment. I like hearing from you. I want to know who you are and I want to know your thoughts. And if you're watching the recording, the same goes to you too. And you can always private message me or email me. I truly mean it. And I work really hard these days to get back to every single person. In fact, a big project that I'm working on right now is when I get back to Los Angeles, my part-time assistant and I are going to go through every single email in my inbox dating back to 2012. And I've organized them all. I have like 1,500 emails that I want to address, maybe more, maybe like 17 or something, 1,700. But my goal is to answer every single one, meaning like some of them are, maybe people's emails have changed or it's different. Like a lot of those are like business pitches or something, but a lot of them come from people like you who have messaged me and I never got back to because I found that so overwhelming. And now that I have an assistant, I can now make sure that I respond to every comment, every private message, and every email. So I really mean it when I say hearing from you is a really important thing for me. And Atticus, who said, I feel like it's so much easier to really get to know people if they're vegan. It's such a cornerstone of my personal philosophy. Yeah, I think that's just socialization. We find it easier to socialize with people who have the same values as us and lifestyle. So I can completely relate to that. I personally don't find that anymore. I've been vegan for over 15 years now, or no, I think it's 15 years around this time. It was sometime in fall 2003. And, I like any type of deep, meaningful conversation and socialization with people, vegan or not. It's nice when they're vegan, but that's mainly like if we're talking about veganism or eating food together. But otherwise, like, there's so many amazing people in my life who aren't vegan and it doesn't really matter to me. But it all depends on what your goals are with your friendships and your socializing, It depends what is important to you and what you want to discuss and what type of people you want to have in your life, I think just anyone who has something really big in common with you is like what most of us are seeking. And speaking of seeking, I want to find deep personal fulfillment, and I wish the same for you and everybody. And I think one of the reasons that I'm really drawn to helping people with money is because I just feel like money can get in the way so easily, time and money, and it doesn't have to. And just to let anything get in your way is really heartbreaking. A lot of us just have all of these barriers, all of these blocks and these obstacles, all of these things that we think should be a certain way but don't have to be. And I think that's something that I'm really reflecting a lot on while I'm out here because I'm not it's like everything's so relaxed. It's 1:30 a.m. and I can go to bed whenever I want and I can wake up when I want and I'm with like my dad, my sister, and my mom. And, you know, it's just like right now I'm kind of in that vacation mode, even though I'm still getting work done. But when you have these opportunities to just step back and examine your life, especially if you're coming home to like your childhood home, like I'm at right now, it's just bringing up a lot of different emotions and reflections. And I'm just finding myself more and more like I just want to look for the ways in which I can live an authentic, fulfilled life. And I see so many people wanting the same thing, but just not knowing how to get it or doubting that they can. And I think happiness really centers on personal fulfillment and feeling connected to others in a deep way. And you'll see that like that's a ongoing thread throughout my work is, I have the Eco Vegan Pal community, which even though it's about 3 years old, I think it's 3 years old now. Is it? It's at least two, maybe it's only 2 years old. But when I started Eco Vegan Pal, it was this big dream of me having this online community, and there's just so much for me to figure out in it, and it's just felt really tricky. But I just like want to create a community for people where they can really connect. So someone like Atticus who says it's easier to get to know people if they're vegan, like that's one of the things if you're looking for it. You can go to ecoveganpal.com and learn more about the community that I've been developing there. And that has not felt like a success to me yet. That project, I felt pretty stressed about it. I felt like, I don't know, I just feel like I haven't figured it out. I feel a lot of personal pressure to figure it out. I wanna make it worthwhile for people, and it hasn't felt fulfilling to me yet, but I know that the purpose in it is in the right place. And I think that's one of the key things too is whenever I feel like I'm not doing good enough, I have to just bring myself back to why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I would really suggest the same for any of you is what you're doing with your daily life, is what you're contributing to, even if it's just in your head at this time, is that energy being put something that's really meaningful to you? Like really, and not just about making money. I think that's the thing that I suspect with a lot of content creators is that, and this whole influencer world is a lot of people start off, it's a passion. They're excited about it, but then because it's become such a big career, now it's like, oh, if I want to make a lot of money, I'll become an influencer. Trust me, it's not that easy. But for some people, it actually really is. It depends what molds you're fitting into. I feel like if you're a 20-something-year-old or a teenager and you're creating like, all of these things like us, kind of more the superficial entertainment value stuff or, anything like about our appearances or whatnot. I think if you're creating content that's about how you look, your friends, or your experiences, then there's a very good chance that you can be successful with it and make money. But I wonder like how many people are just creating content because they're desperate for validation or desperate for the money or both. That's the one thing about like this Jake Paul series that Shane Dawson is doing is I've been so fascinated by Jake Paul and Logan Paul. Like I'll watch their videos every once in a while. They're not for me. they're just like, they're too crazy, and they feel too much in their ego, and it's all about like promoting their merchandise and talking about how great their lives are, and being really crazy and extreme, and it's like whatever they can do to get the views, right? The thumbnails, and just keep their audience interested. And they're both just so centered around their success. I forget what term they use. They have some term that they use for like being successful, and I think that's like their determination is admirable, but there's something about both of them that feels like so in the ego and so superficial, and not, in I think it's in Jake Paul's video when he was talking to the or in Shane Dawson's video. I think it's the second episode, he talks to a therapist, which was like his controversial video. And she explains how the a lot of content creators will say things like, I love you so much. They're talking to their audience. I love you and thank you and blah, blah, blah. And how a lot of people just don't mean it. They feel like they should say those things because they want to show appreciation and they want the audience to feel like they care. But that the psychologist suspects that most content creators, influencers, isn't really about their audience. It's just about them satisfying their ego with their money and their fame and all that. And that's something I have to think about too, I don't really know most of you. That's why I really love doing live videos, and I love seeing you talking in the chats, because I do want to know you. And it's hard to remember everybody's names, but there are some of you who are very consistent with leaving comments. And so I do know your names. Like Green Dragon is a common one, who almost every time I go live is here, and not right now, I don't think, but Green Dragon will comment. And so I know that username. There's a woman named Kelly who I've known for many years because she's been watching. And so I actually met her in person. I mean, like, there are people that I've met in person, and there's people that I have developed strong acquaintances with. And like, that is so amazing. Those people that have been really consistent and really open. But there's so many of you, the great majority of you, actually, I don't know who you are at all. And I would love to know more about you. That's actually going to be a big focus of mine, I think, later this year. I'm still working on the timing, but I actually wanted to dedicate a whole month to the community, like a community appreciation month, and just find ways to get back to you and get to know you more. And there's just so much I want to do to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of Eco Vegan Gal, which is just a few weeks away. So I guess, like, to wrap things up, we all have our own biases, and we have things that we think we want, but the reasons we think we want something are different from maybe the deeper reasons behind it. I think a lot of our driving forces as human beings come down to just the core desire to receive love in whatever form and to survive. And I think that's why money is so important, is because money is so tied to survival, right? We need money to eat. We need money to put a roof over our head, like basic stuff. And then we have all these other things we like to spend our money on. So love and money are really, love and survival, big driving forces. And for us to really examine all the different ways that we're looking to be loved, and all the different ways that we're looking to survive, and just kind of get clear on how do we get those needs met in a way that feels fulfilling and somehow contributes to the world. That's at least what I want to do. Well, I'd love to hear from you. So if you're watching the recording, please leave a comment. I promise either I or Melissa will get back to you, or the two of us together. I will see you again soon, whether it's here in Massachusetts or back in LA. I have a feeling that it's going to take me some time to recover and get back, or to adjust to being back there. But I have a ton of videos that I've been working on, like filmed, edited videos, like back to kind of my old style. So I have no idea when those are gonna be done. Like, I will definitely let you know. A really great way to keep in touch is through the newsletter, so I hope you sign up for that because those go out every week, usually on Thursdays. I have giveaways going on and social media, of course, and email. So there's lots of ways for you to stay in touch with me, and I really hope to hear from you soon. Wishing you all the very best, and I'll see you next time.